I'm going to mute
Good
myself.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce's Women in Leadership, Applying the Entrepreneurial Mindset. This is our second virtual Women in Leadership. I'm really excited to have you today. Hopefully our next one will be in person and we'll be able to connect and meet face to face. But for now, we're facing our challenges head on, and we've brought to you another amazing program this afternoon. And none of this can be possible without our sponsors. So I'd like to thank Independence Blue Cross, SAP, AmeriHealth Caritas, Bard, Gowie, Amen and Foltz, Crozier Health, Trinity Health, TD Bank, WSFS Bank, Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union, Trinity Health Mercy Home Health, and Trinity Health Mercy Life. Without none of those sponsors would any of this be possible. And our premier sponsor today is Independence Blue Cross. And with us this afternoon, we have Grant Gegwich, who is the Director of Corporate Communication. Grant, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Trish. It's great to be here, and I'm so glad to be here representing both the Chamber. I'm a member of the board for several years, and also Independence Blue Cross. We're so pleased to support the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, the Women in Leadership program, and today's event. I'm really sorry we can't see each other in person. Hopefully very soon we'll be able to do that. Personally, I'm also very happy to support this event as a proud Delco resident and a big fan of entrepreneurship. This county is home to so many outstanding female entrepreneurs and leaders, like our very own Deanna Doan, a fellow board member of mine, and the amazing people on the panel today, Kim Wright and Christine Wyatt. And I think, yeah, Rachel could be with us, right? Yep. And Kim, I have to tell you, we were talking a little earlier. I just had your product recently, and it was delicious, unbelievable. Your cakes went so quickly in my house after receiving them. So kudos to you, and very glad that you've joined the Delaware County community. My respect goes out to all entrepreneurs, especially as you navigate the craziness that has been this pandemic. And on behalf of the team at Independence Blue Cross, we hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy. We know this has been a difficult time for everyone. Since the start of the pandemic, we've worked to make it as easy as possible for our members to have access to the testing and care that they need. We've also focused on getting the word out about what needs to be done to stay safe, such as continuing to get necessary and preventive care and wearing masks, things like that. You might have seen some of our public health campaign on TV or in the news. We've also focused on some of the side effects of the pandemic, like initiatives to help make sure at-risk seniors have healthy food, and launching campaigns about addressing the pandemic's impact on mental health. I urge you, if you're interested, to check out our website for our Know Your Mind campaign, which focuses on anxiety and depression during this time. And as the pandemic continues, and with vaccines on the rise, and hopefully we're continuing that fight together with everyone in the region. So let's hope that we can get through this, and we can all join together for great events like this very soon. So in conclusion, thanks again to the Chamber, the Women in Leadership program, and everyone participating today. And of course, best of luck to everyone today on your journeys, your personal entrepreneurship journeys. So thank you.
All right, so now we're going to play just a brief video before jumping into the program. We want to share a little bit about the history of the program and our panelists. Well, thank you so much, Grant, for that welcome. And now I'd like to introduce Deanna Doan, who's the owner of Click Canyon and the moderator for today's event. Deanna, thank you so much.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Thank you for asking me to be the moderator of this event. I'm excited to talk with Kim and Christine, and sad that Rachel couldn't join us. I'm a proud, as Grant said, a proud member of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce Board and a resident, and I own my business here. So Delaware County is a really special place, as I think we all know. We have a lot to cover because these women have a lot of information to share. And we're going to talk about how do they do it? How do they run businesses, deal with pandemics, deal with being a mom and managing life outside of their businesses, and just what they do and what their inspiration is for their businesses. So we'll start with both of them giving us a little background. So we'll start with Kim. Give us an idea of who you are. How did you start your business? And did you always want to own your own business? I'll let you just go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kim Wright. I'm the owner of Nothing Bundt Cakes in Wynwood and in Springfield. My first title I always say is mom. I have 4 young sons. My oldest is 11. I have twin boys that are 10, and my youngest is 4. So the pandemic has certainly affected our household and kind of the work-life balance. To answer your question, no, I did not always want to start my own business. I was actually inspired by my husband, who equally inspires and challenges me. Years ago, he has always worked very hard and had an entrepreneurial spirit. And I encouraged him to then start his own business after we moved here to Philadelphia. There was a time when he had partners and they were going to be bought out by another group. That didn't work out. So I ended up buying his original partners out and becoming a partner in that construction business. I still am a partner there. And it was actually from that experience that I ended up at Nothing Bundt Cakes. We were doing great at it. We still are. I enjoyed it. I loved my work-life balance. And he actually was the one that said, we should do something else. And I thought, why? We have a full life. It's going well. Like, why would we want to do that? And really, because he's just such an entrepreneur at heart, he would not let it go. So he really started calling all these businesses. And I really just thought, well, maybe he'll just let it go. Maybe it'll be a phase and then I won't have to hear about it anymore. And we'll just continue as we are. And finally, he called Batteries Plus to figure out how we could do that. And I thought, I cannot do that. I cannot do that every day. That is not me. No. So I said, well, I better give my 2 cents and start to participate in that conversation. And that's how we ended up with Nothing Bundt Cakes, which is a perfect fit for me.
Now, I just have to ask, are you a baker do you bake?
I love to bake, yes, but I am not a baker by trade. And that is not why I selected this particular business. It was truly a business decision based on the fact that I had loved the brand from my life in Texas, which is where I'm from originally. I loved the brand. I loved the product. I loved every location that I went into. But more than that, I loved the core values that the brand was about. And as I looked around at what business I might, do, that was very uncommon. So I loved that about them, and it checked boxes for me that I did not realize a business could. And it really sealed the deal for me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. So I'll turn it over to Christine, who I know is a born and bred Delaware County girl. And you can tell us about your business and how you got started and your history.
Sure. Well, thank you. I wanted to just start with that. Thank you for having me on this panel. It's an honor to sit amongst all of you women. And just a little bit about myself. Like you said, I was born and raised in Delaware County. I currently live in Springfield, and I'm a mom of 3 little girls, 12, 11, and 7. I am a former reading specialist, And right now I am the co-owner with my sister of the Springfield Juice Pod and the Bryn Mawr Juice Pod. And in terms of, have I always thought that I would own my own business? I would probably say no. A teacher at heart. It was a very, very rewarding profession. I was a kindergarten, first and second grade teacher. Then went on to get my master's degree in reading and absolutely loved every part of that job. However, I had to make a pivot at one point in my career when my second daughter, Lily, was born. She had severe food allergies. So my pivot was to stay home, take care of, I had Ella and Lily at that point, and really dive deep into food allergies, how they come about, how I could work on her gut health. And, you know, that's when nutrition really was just like this light bulb moment that I wanted to really understand nutrition and how it could help heal the body. So from there, I fell into an online network marketing wellness business that flourished, and it allowed me to be a teacher all over again. I was able to educate adults on how to create their own at-home business. And I was also able to take everything I learned to help Lily, to help, you know, families understand the importance of nutrition and how it affects our mindset and, you know, our everyday life, our energy. So it's quite a journey. And that has what led me into partnering with my sister with the Juice Pod. And I feel, you know, it's all of these steps have led me to this point of still being that educator at heart. And now I get to work with young adults on business and leadership and teaching them how to cook and work together as a team, and just cultivating people is really my heart. And I'm grateful that I was, you know, I'm at this point where I probably didn't think that I would be at, but it was kind of all a ladder to where I was supposed to land.
And sometimes it just, things fall into place, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think I mentioned yesterday, Forbes had something on, they've listed the top 100 most powerful women. And recently, the percentage came out of how many small businesses are owned by women in 2020, which is 40%, which I think is a great increase over the years. Do you think that the environment now is more friendly for women owning businesses? I mean, I know that, you know, there's buying franchises, or like I do, I own, you know, an agency. Do you think it's a good environment, and why do you think women are, you know, that increase is happening? I'll let you go, Kim.
Sure. I think that we are in a much better place than we have been in the past. I think that we have a long way to go in the future. And I think that in order to really create and cultivate more of that in the future, it takes moments like these and webinars like these are a great start. It takes women like the founders of Nothing Bundt Cakes, who were two women who worked in the corporate world and decided to step into their own kitchen and start something there until they outgrew that, and into what my franchise is today, which is 400 bakeries nationwide, 90% female owned, which I'm super proud of. But I think it takes pioneers like that, even in today's world, to continue the trend. I think not only does it take women, but it takes strong men and women like myself who have 4 sons to really educate them on, by example. You know, what they see every day is their normal, and they will always have that. But they have the example of my husband, who truly treats our household and myself as a business person as an equal, and is at many, you know, in the road where we are in our crossroads for Nothing Bundt Cakes. Although I'm at the forefront of that, he, you know, the support that I'm being given behind the scenes from him you know, being willing to do more in our home or with our children, you know, roles that were maybe non-traditional for men in the past. To my kids, that's the normal, that he is allowing me to pave the way for Nothing Bundt Cakes and the success that I want for it and for our families in turn, by supporting me and our family in that way. And that's their normal. So my hope is that they see that and that they recognize that. We talk about it all the time. And then as they grow into a young adulthood and into their own lives, that they find a woman, you know, if that's their choice, and that they also, that's their normal too, and that they start to begin that trend. And that's my hope as a mom, is that I can contribute that to the world.
Right. And we get to a point where it's not like the first woman to do this or that, where it's just like our sons, because I'm a boy mom as well, to see it's just normal. It's a normal place for women to be, whether it's at a CEO level, a business owner, whatever it is, a teacher, that it's just normal for men and you know, society to see that. So, and, you know, you mentioned something, and I think Kim can speak to this, is like why women might own a business. She was inspired by her daughter having allergies. So it kind of the trajectory for her life. Sometimes I think women might, and you can agree with or disagree on this, that are inspired differently to start their businesses, you know. But do you think starting your business was a big risk? Did you feel that, Christine, about when you started the business? Do you feel yourself as a risk taker, or did you feel comfortable? You know, have you seen yourself as that?
Risk taker. Yeah, I guess so. I also have, my sister deserves all the credit for starting the Juice Pod down the shore. She, I mean, did an amazing job branding this business, and I had all the confidence in the world in her, and I knew that she was going to be successful, and I knew that I always wanted to bring the Juice Pod up to Delaware County. I was just in a little bit of a tough time with young babies, and you know, nothing was going to stop her, and that was it. So that's how it began. And I think for anybody listening that is scared, there's always going to be fear involved. There's always going to be risks, you know, so do your homework on the franchise that you want to get involved with, or the business that you're considering, and you know who your partnerships are, and what is the track record, and who are the women that have gone before you to blaze the trail that you know are going to empower you and inspire you to grow and to succeed in your business. Because any leader, you know, like Kim or myself, that is going to empower and set up other people as entrepreneurs in one way or the other, that's all we want for you, is to succeed and to empower you to be the best that you can be, with all of the risks that we have taken. And, you know, everyone falls forward. Okay. It's going to happen to everybody, some harder than others. So yeah, it's always going to be a risk, and there's never going to be a perfect time, but you just need to just power through that fear and go for it.
And combining a question with somebody from the attendees, a couple of things, you know, I'll combine. What were some of the obstacles? You know, because obviously if you're an entrepreneur, you're skilled at, you know, managing things. I mean, you don't just jump in, you have a you know, entrepreneurial spirit. That's part of who you are, kind of your executive skills. And, you know, some of the obstacles and maybe some of the things you might have wished you knew before you started your business. Like, did they become, you know, like, did an obstacle that presented itself to you, do you wish you maybe knew that, like, what was that one thing that you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I had, you know, known this before I did this.
Kim would agree. No one was going to be prepared for this, you know, going through this pandemic. You know, but in terms of general
Outside
thing?
of the pandemic, because we'll get to the pandemic, but outside of that, was there something, space-wise, financial, that was a huge obstacle for you, or that came up without you realizing? Maybe it was staffing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer that. Ellen, hi, I see that you asked that. I wish I was seeing your face in person. I'm sure you have an awesome hat on today, and I wish I could see it. I think that the one thing that I wish that I knew before I started my business was that there were going to be a lot of naysayers, and not just people who didn't know me and that were going to judge, that my signage would go up and they were going to talk on social and say, Bundt cakes, who's going to buy Bundt cakes every day? Well, I do know that people buy Bundt cakes every day. But more than that, it was on the personal end too, that I was going to get a lot of feedback from family members that I really wanted support from, and I didn't get it. And that's hard. I think that that's really hard personally. It makes you really question your choice, that you were very excited about sharing and you feel very strongly about. And I wish that I had just had keyed into that a little bit before, just to brace for the impact, really, because it really can kind of dull your sparkle. And I wish I hadn't let them dull my sparkle, because here I am, and I wish that I didn't let that moment overwhelm me, because it really, now today looking back, it really was a moment. And I just encourage everybody, to don't let anybody dull your sparkle, because that is part of what will drive you and why we do what we do. And whatever your inspiration is, write it down, look at it, have a mantra, ask those in your tribe and that are closest to you to continue to echo it in your mind, to help drown out the noise that you will hear.
I agree.
I agree.
Completely.
100%.
There's always going to be a naysayer, like, well, how are you going to do that? You have kids, and like, how? Sometimes it's like, if people ask you, don't let them question you, just because they question whether they could do it themselves. That's part of it, and I think that's what I'm getting from both of you, is that that the people questioning you are like, oh, I could never do that, so they kind of project that on you. So and I like that. Never let anyone dull your sparkle or your inspiration. We have a couple really great questions about finance to kind of combo here. I will ask from Judy and from Elvira here about finances and where do you get it? And are there lenders? Do you feel that there's lenders out there in the community that are more favorable to women investors, or women entrepreneurs, or women business owners wanting to get a business loan?
I mean, I would say not that I'm aware of. Okay. In fact, I feel like funding right now, like, again, we have to speak to COVID because that's where we are, is very critical, and it is very non-traditional in my recent experience, but I'm not aware of anybody that unless it's somebody that's personally funding for you financially. I don't know that there are any banks or, or anything like that fund specifically for female groups. I hope that there's some out there and maybe we can learn about them.
I know, right? We should maybe focus on that something next for women in leadership. But speaking, let's jump into kind of the elephant in the room, which is COVID and the pandemic. And I know, Kim, that you actually opened your Springfield location in the middle of the summer, I guess, during the height of the pandemic, or what we felt was the height of it. Can you talk about a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I was very lucky. I opened my Springfield location in August. And that was when it was originally slated to open. So, we had done the plans, and I could have taken a pause. I could have easily said, let's take a break from this. Let's see what happens. And I did get some advice in both, really, actually, I got a lot of advice that maybe that was probably the better choice, the smarter choice. And my gut instinct did not want to listen to any of that. I guess I heeded my own advice about letting people dull my sparkle. And I knew that I felt that the community I lived in, I also live in Springfield. We all need something to brighten our day a little bit. And I knew what that meant in our Wynwood community and our Wynwood Ardmore community, and what our cake and how our involvement in the community was able to give those moments of joy to the community, particularly during COVID. So against all advice, I continued with construction and planning and investing, and I decided to open. And I am so glad that I did, because Delco I have learned in the few years that I have lived there, which has probably been about 5 years, they are fiercely loyal people. And I love that about them. And they are fierce, period. And I feel like they have just come and they've supported us. We have supported them any way that we can, through fundraising and gifting, and just really saying hi to all of our neighbors with cake. And I think that's exactly what the world needs right now. So for me in particular, it was a great choice to continue with it. Every day we focus on helping people celebrate, and people are celebrating more intimate moments. They're doing smaller moments and in more intimate groups. And we just love that we can be a part of that. And I think for me personally, COVID was my reason for opening during the time versus against it.
Yeah, bringing some joy. So, Christine, how has your business changed because of the COVID pandemic? People come in your store. I mean, you can do, but it's a product just like Kim. So how has it changed for you?
Well, luckily for me, our product is about health and wellness. And that is what everyone is looking for during this pandemic, to, keep their immune system at its highest. If anything, it's made us so much stronger. It's made our team just so resilient. It just shows you how resilient you can be, and be able to be fluid in your business and make the necessary changes quickly. And that's, really what, when I look back to March and May being our biggest month, it was the turnaround. It was like, this is what obstacle we're facing, and this is what we're going to do to turn it around and make it work. And this is also what we're going to do to give back and get our frontliners what they need in their bodies to continue to take care of our community. So we did have a mission to support the frontliners. It's on our website, where it started with Danielle and I taking the healthy juices, cold pressed juice, acai bowls to our doctors, our nurses, our firefighters, our EMTs. And then I had customers. My first customer, Kim, God bless her, she came up to the door one day and said, Chris, she said, I see what you guys are doing and I want to help. And she handed me $200. And I looked at my husband and I was like, I bet there's so many more people that want to help, but we have the opportunity to get it out there. And, he was like, you're right. So we did create the little juice pod Venmo, and, we were really able to do more than we could do personally as the juice pod alone. And that's like one of my favorite sayings. Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's what COVID has really shown me as an entrepreneur, as a person, and a business owner. And it's something that I'll take with me for the rest of my entrepreneurial life, is to go together. You just, to make a bigger impact, you want to collaborate, you want to, meet people where they are and do whatever you can do to get through your obstacle.
And has, like you've adjusted your business, but I think a lot of women that are on this call or on this webinar will be able to, understand that some of the difficulties, like how have you managed like being a mom and, in-home schooling or, hybrid schooling and, like how do you, and I think Kim mentioned this at the beginning, that work-life balance is a little different right now. So how have you managed that? And do you have any kind of tips for everyone to deal with that and deal with the stress of all of it at once?
It's a lot. And, I don't know Kim personally before, being introduced with the panel and all, but it seems as though we are two women that have very supportive husbands. And I don't know if I could do it without them, honestly. It's been hard. With the teaching and me being a former teacher and wanting to do something a certain way and letting go and handing it over. And he's been home from his pharmaceutical job since March, and I'm required to be out of the house. And prior to Juice Pod, I was a stay-at-home mom and ran an at-home business. So, I waited to get to the point of them all being in school to get into a brick and mortar and be outside of the house. So it was tough because he was doing the things that I wanted to do, and I'm sure Kim feels the same way, but I'm showing my daughters and she's showing her sons, that we are equal and it's only going to benefit everyone in the end. And, this pandemic is allowing, I think, families to get a pause and to really reflect and recalibrate. And to come together, but for me, it's 100% I'm getting through this because of my husband, and without his support, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I would say my biggest piece of advice for anybody, whether it's pandemic or another time, is to, the words I live by constantly is embrace the imbalance, because I feel like before COVID, similar to, I'm hearing mom guilt from you, Chris, and I think we all feel that. I feel mom guilt both for my children, and then I also say I feel mom guilt for my Bundt babies. So if I spend my family time, because I've designated that time, and then something's happening at the bakeries, then I feel mom guilt for that too. Okay. But words that I really live by, like I said, is embrace the imbalance. And what I mean by that is, again, going back to shifting our mindset from these traditional roles to the non-traditional, is that as women, we put so much on ourselves to be perfect in all of the categories that we participate in. And that's just not realistic. It's not attainable to be 100% at everything we do every single day. So, there are going to be days where I am an amazing mom and I did everything right from Pinterest. And then there are days that I fail in that, and that I have to, and that I miss things. And that's not really a fail, but sometimes in our minds, that's how we consider it. There are days where I can be the best boss and I'm there to support everyone and problem solve. And then there are days when I can't do that because maybe I'm at a different location. So I have to let the other location do what they're trained to do. And that's okay too. But that pre-COVID and kind of on the beginning of my journey as an entrepreneur, embracing the imbalance for me meant, when I was young, and I know a lot of us can really appreciate this, I had this idea that in order to have a successful life, it meant, my husband and I had certain date nights every week, and that we had so many sit-down dinners together, and that we, got the kids to bath all at the same time. And it was like, we put them all to bed, right? And
when does that ever happen? Right.
Right. And then in business, we, I would achieve these things. And I felt that the more I could not do all of those things and check all of those boxes, I felt down on myself. And I felt like I was going to then it wasn't going to be a success, that my family, my children weren't going to be smart because I didn't read them the story time because I just needed to go to sleep. Because my husband and I had to skip date night. Oh my gosh, is our relationship, doomed? All of these different things. So I needed to put that aside, and I needed to create my own balance. And I don't think it's the same for all of us. I think that all of our relationships are different. All of our limits are different. All of our businesses are in different seasons, and they run on their own seasons. So I just put aside those traditional thoughts of what success was, and I just started to embrace the imbalance. And when I started to do that, I was happier and I felt more successful and I felt that I had achieved more. It's not that anything different was happening, it was the mindset that I had. So now I just live in the imbalance and I just say, good for me, and here we are.
Love it.
Yeah, you kind of touched on one of the things was I was going to ask is how do you deal with the stress? And obviously it's like making that adjustment. Is there anything in particular you do, Christine, to like kind of deal with stress? Or do you make
Yes.
time for certain things, or,
Yes,
is it
I
alone
have to have-
time? And
Yeah, I do one thing every day for myself, and sometimes it's 5 minutes long, and sometimes it's an hour. So I listen to my body in terms of when I need rest and exercise. Whether it's going for a walk. Some days I need a run. I really just am intuitive on my needs when I need to step back. So that's
just taking, doing a little self-care,
Yeah,
even if it's
just
like you
one-
said, 5 minutes.
self-care can mean so much to so many different people, and you really have to find your thing. I'm very simple. Having one cup of hot coffee in the morning, and like maybe doing a little gratitude or some type of personal development makes me feel good. Like I took time for myself, no matter like what is ahead. So the morning, yeah, something typically in the morning for myself.
Is there any, woman, like I mentioned, these top 100 powerful women, but is there a woman that has inspired you when you've been on this entrepreneurial journey? Is there someone that has inspired you that could inspire other women? If there's a book out there that you've turned to or something like that you'd like to share with everyone?
Which one?
Someone in particular?
For me, a woman that I love is Frida Kahlo. I am an artist at heart. I just love that she was a woman before her time. I love that her relationship was, again, non-traditional, and that, I am, my heritage is my mom is Filipino, my dad is Mexican. So for me, she is a nod to that heritage, and I feel connected to that. But I love also, not only did she speak from her heart through her art, and she was about her own truth, but that her relationship, she was respected by her husband in a time that, again, that was non-traditional, but they also had a very a challenging relationship, and I feel like that is inspiring, that you can I think that's sometimes it's comforting to see that and to know that about people, that it's not always the curated life that we see on social media. And that doesn't mean that that's okay, and that's normal, and it can also be successful in its own way.
I'm sorry, Christine, I'll let if you had anybody, but I do have another question if whenever
Sure. My ultimate favorite my whole life's Oprah Winfrey.
Good one.
She's my absolute favorite person. Her voice makes me calm. Her podcast, her inspiration, what she does for education and children and women all over the world is, I couldn't even think of anyone in comparison.
Did you, there are women that inspire you, but did you guys have a mentor at all for your business? I know, like Kim, you talked about the owners or the founders of your franchise. Christine, your sister, certainly started, kind of gave you that jumping off point. Did you have mentors outside of that?
So previously, I was I'm a wellness consultant also for a global health and wellness company, Isogenics. And, at the beginning of that, I knew nothing about business or entrepreneurials. And just taking on that role as a business coach required me to grow a lot and be very coachable. That's a big part of entrepreneurial mindset, is to the humility part and to be coachable, you know. And with the Juice Pod, my mentor was my sister. That's not always the easiest thing, all right? But I had to just zip it up and learn to grow, all right? And that's my best advice, is just let your guard down, tell your ego to calm down, and let the people that have gone before you show you the way, all right? They've tried, they've failed, and they're only going to wish what's best for you. But in terms of mentorship, I have had plenty of mentors in my wellness coaching realm, of women that inspired me, and I've, you know, seen on stage and listened to them and their podcasts, and if they can do it, I could do it. And that was, you know, they instilled that confidence that you need, and accountability. Like, you have to hold yourself accountable every day, because if something goes wrong, I mean, it's like kind of on you. And those mentors, I would always recommend, you know, linking arms with someone that has gone before you, and don't feel ashamed to need to do so. That's, we have, you know, been there, we're doing it, you know, and it's okay, because it's all right to be vulnerable. We're all learning. My husband says you have to build a plane while you're flying. You know?
Do you jump off the cliff?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, sorry. So, you know, I have a question, as being a business owner myself. Was there something nitty gritty, like in your business, that as it goes on, I mean, we've talked a little, you know, 30,000 foot view. Is there like a nitty gritty that people don't think about, like employees? I mean, right now, have you had a hard time with staffing? Has that become, you know, staffing is always an issue for a small business, no matter what, like getting good people. But do you think it's been harder or less hard because people are out of work? So which has it been for you, you know, kind of on the everyday? Has, you know, finding employees been harder or easier for you, or keeping employees?
Easier for me.
So for me, I think at the beginning of COVID, it was very difficult. We had a very skeleton crew, and I worked a lot because people were afraid to come to work, and understandably so. I couldn't ask them to put themselves in a position that they were uncomfortable with, and then ask them to do their job well. So I think then we kind of turned a corner after a little bit of time, and people were tired of being at home, and they were actually looking for work and to come out. And I think that so I think since then it's changed. I think the toughest part about the HR issue now is that you can ask them to wear a mask, and you have protocols in your space and place to protect, you know, ourselves, our employees, our guests, but then we can't control them when they're outside of our walls. But that still directly affects us, and you know, potential outbreaks or exposures and things like that. I think, yeah, that's the basics for what happened and how it worked for us.
So if there's any, I'm sorry, Christine, were you going to say something?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, employees, it's always an up and down with employee and staffing, but any woman of any age, I mean, I have the question written down in front of me, a young woman, but I think, you know, you can start a business at any age. And if someone said, oh my God, I have this great idea, you know, I mean, you've talked about a little bit of advice, but if they're going to start, you know, kind of the top 3 things that you would tell them to really think about as they, you know, jump into owning something or starting something.
That's a tough one. I'm not sure about if I have 3, but I can start certainly. I think that you really have to consider, you know, why you want to do it, what you love, and what you're good at, because they're not always the same thing. You can love skiing, but it doesn't mean you're going to be an Olympic skier. So, and again, not that it doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. That is certainly not the message, but I think it's really important to kind of be objective when you are thinking, and then going back to kind of the advice from other people, and you know, when you are asking for people's insight, keep your circle small and make sure that you're really asking the right people because not everybody, for example, we all want our parents' approval and we love it when they can support us. But if they don't have an entrepreneurial mindset or they don't have business acumen, they may not be the proper person that you should ask that is going to give you true insight into whether you should make that venture or not. So I think having a good, really considering the circle that you are taking your advice from is important.
Mhm.
100% agree on that one. A lot of people like to give advice, but you want to take into consideration, like Kim said, the source and where that person has been or is in their life, in their entrepreneurial journey. Oh, young girls, go out there, young girls. You can do anything. I believe that there's never going to be a perfect time. There's always going to be maybe next year or maybe next time. But if you have something in your heart and you're passionate about something, or you feel that your life has led you up to a certain point to do something that you feel passionate about, listen to your intuition. It's probably going to lead you down the right path. Okay. What else?
One question is, is there any organizations that you're a part of that you feel have helped you? I mean, obviously the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce has been fabulous for all of us because we are all connected here, but is there any other associations that even as you're starting and then becoming more involved in your business that have benefited you as you've grown your business?
Absolutely. I really attribute all of the growth that I've had at both of my locations from the networking groups that I have participated in. I feel so sad that we are all virtual and I can't see so many of the faces that I used to love seeing. I think that, I feel sad that some of maybe the bonds and the relationships that I would have developed from meeting people in person have not yet happened. And I'm excited for when that time comes again. So I think that it's important to explore every group. I think asking people too about, kind of just like it has been on this exact chat and on this panel, asking people what groups have worked for them, asking them to be a guest at that group before you're committing, because I think all of our time is valuable and it is impossible to really be active in too many groups if we spread ourselves too thin. But if you select the right groups that are good for you personally, then, and you really invest your time in those networks, then they will be truly beneficial. And I do think that for every phase of your life and every phase of your business, that those groups, some of them will stay the same and be continuous, but a lot of times it will shift and change. So as an example, when I first started, I'm still a part of this group. It's called Busy Mamas, and it's a Facebook primarily group. And I loved it when I first started my business because I spent so much time inside the walls of my bakery. And I know Chris can attest to that because I hadn't built my staff yet where I could be away from it. But it allowed me, their groups often met monthly, and they still do. It's online, it's at night. You chat with people and you introduce yourselves. And it's great now because now they were already set up for that given COVID. But it let me do that on my own time and in my pajamas a lot of the time. And that's what I needed at that time. I could not go to breakfast and lunch networking events. It just wasn't working for me at that time. And I think, each group has different types of people. Some people are doing it part-time in some groups, and other people are representative of their business versus being, an owner or, invested in it 100%. So I think looking at those different things and the phases that are working for you in your life and how that group fits for you are really important.
If I could step in, I know I'm not a panelist, but I do own a business, and I agree with Kim in that get comfortable in talking to people and get comfortable in networking, because you will build your business that way. And, even if it's 30 seconds, be prepared when you go to those events. If you're invited to a luncheon, be prepared to introduce yourself and just have something to say about, what you're passionate about, what you're excited about your business, whether you're just starting, you're in a growth stage, or in a redo stage. But totally agree with Kim is to get comfortable and, be prepared, to take this time to, a friend of mine here, another person in marketing says, if you cannot be out, a fisherman, when he cannot be out on the sea, stays on land and fixes his nets. So remember that right now, is while we can't all be doing what we were used to, it's great to be prepared when things start to open up again, and everybody's going to want to get out because, we're just ready to interact, like Kim said, and create that personal connection. So be prepared for those, because you can really build your business that way. So, okay, great. Is there any final parting things that you guys would like to say? Because we're a little shorter today because we didn't have our third panelist. So you guys have given some great nuggets of information. And is there anything parting that you would like to say about being an entrepreneur, a woman entrepreneur?
I just have two pieces. One kind of dovetails off of what you just said, and I think it is really important that you're ready and you're prepared. But also, I think that one thing a mentor once told me in terms of networking is it's not always about presenting your business first. A lot of times it's about connecting on a personal level and what you have in common. And then you're going to build that relationship. And then eventually, it may not be an immediate return, but eventually that business will come back to you, even if it's not directly from your original connection. Because really, that's what networking is about. It's about connecting, and that's what grows your business, but it's not always a direct correlation from the moment you're meeting that person.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Christine, do you have any final things, final word of wisdom?
I think that in business, like Kim was saying before, people's advice, people's comments, whether negative or positive, can all have an effect on, your mindset and your self-confidence. And I think if you stay true to who you are and you're authentic, your business is going to flourish organically, no matter what your business is. Don't sway on who you are for anyone, and don't let anyone tell you that you need to be different. The only difference that you can do is to get better. Be a better human. Take advantage of the opportunities that you have to grow, and surround yourself with good-hearted people, and you'll be fine. I
agree. And just one more thing, and then I'll kind of turn it over to just Trish, is that I have an acronym sometimes, and I'm afraid is fear is false evidence appearing real. So kind of get out of your own head and realize sometimes, you just got to get out there and don't be too afraid. There's opportunities and connections to be made. So I appreciate both Kim and Christine giving their insight on their businesses. Let's all make sure we stay healthy with Christine and celebrate with Kim. I know I'll be ordering a cake for some Christmas celebrations next week, but thank you everyone. And thank you, the Delaware County Chamber, so much for organizing this event. It's been an honor to talk to all of you, and in the chat, and I know that Jacqueline will share, but certainly there's links to all of us. If anybody has private questions, I think we're all open to helping you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us, and the Chamber is always there to help as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Trish.
Thank you so much. I wanted to thank all of our panelists and Deanna this afternoon. This has been amazing. And as I like to say, I like to have the cakes from Nothing Bundt Cakes, and then kind of balance it out with my wellness and pop over to the juice pod for my acai bowl or my smoothie with protein. Thank you, Christine. So thank you again for all you've done. And I want to remind everybody to shop local this holiday season, especially now more than ever, our small businesses need us. So if you hop over to Keep the Cheer Here Delco, we have a Facebook page, and we also have a web page where you can see where you can shop local this holiday season, as well as be entered in raffles for gift cards if you do post where you are shopping. So Keep the Cheer Here Delco, and you can win up to $50. You could do, it's either a $50 or $25 gift card to the local establishments here in Delaware County. So thank you again for your support of this Women in Leadership event this afternoon, and our panelists and Deanna and the amazing chamber staff. Thank you for being with us, and have a great, healthy holiday season.
Thank you.